Hello everybody, good morning. Troy Hall here. We're catching queens. It's July 7th and we're going to go through the mating yard today. We're just going to show you how we catch queens. It's pretty fun. Today's a day usually where the level of work or labor required is pretty minimal in regards to other endeavors with bee management or managing my apiary. Usually we get a bunch of people, handful of people, sometimes it's just me and a few helpers. Today we got two helpers and another guy showing up later. But anyways, we're gonna have a handful of people around here catching queens. We gotta go through 200 mating nukes, see how many queens we end up with. I usually plan for around 75% catch. You know, if you have out of 200 queens, we should end up around 150 to 160 queens, you know, to get that 75% average. So we'll see what we wind up with here today. We'll show you guys what it's all about. So we've been, this is the 4th queen catch of this year for us. We have 3 more to go before we're done. The weather's been we've had very wet weather here over the month of June, and it's the first part of July now. And I think in the month of June we almost had upwards of 6-7 inches of rain, and the matings have been surprisingly better than what I expected as far as for the number of mated queens. But we've been, you know, there's been a lot of virgins that have been raised on the behalf of the bees, or we just don't have any queens back in the mating nukes, again probably as a direct result of poor conditions for mating. But for me, what we'll do, usually we have guys going through the mating nukes, and then I'll either go get the queens or they'll bring them to me. I usually don't put them in the cages before I mark them, but I had to kind of get the stuff ready, so I'll show you guys. The marking the queens are pretty easy. A lot of people have been I've been seeing, you know, use the Sharpie paint pens. I tried using them. I just don't feel like I don't like the way that the finished result of using those pens. It's just like this big glob of paint. But let me see if I can show you guys what I really, you know, it's just, again, Michael Palmer, I remember watching him do this on the first, you know, my first exposure to catching queens was if I can get enough paint on the end of this grass. Right there, Ray. But just get a little dab of paint. Being that this is the first queen of the day, you got to get a little more paint on the end of the grass here. And you can get a nice definitive mark that I think looks better. And you know, for the most part, this paint lasts pretty long, you know, for the lifetime of the queen. Let it dry for a second, hold there by her wings, and into the cage she goes. And we put some attendants in. Reggie, do you know what queen this is? This is K2. But we'll, for example, I'll come over here. Ray's got a queen that he's found. What would we like to, this is the 15th, no, we're on day 15 after installing these queen cells.
Virgin, so.
You think she's a virgin?
Yeah, I don't see any eggs in larvae.
So,
she's really small.
What we're doing, we need to look for eggs and larvae. And I would say that could very well be a virgin.
Confirm or deny.
I don't see any eggs in places where there should be. And you have her there.
It's in the middle at the bottom.
Oh yeah, it's a virgin. So usually we pinch virgins off. I got queen cells, and I'd much rather use cells that are coming from genetics I'm trying to propagate over the bees trying to raise their own. So I'll end up actually donating this if anyone needs virgin queens, I just put them in a cage. Reg needs a virgin, so we'll give him one. Reg, you got your cage in here, I think. Yeah. We got a box of them over there. That's all we're finding. So Reg just got an old queen cage here. We'll just stuff it with some grass before she gets away on us. What I should have done is stuffed one in already. eggs. Keep. Put some attendants in with her.
One in there.
A queen? Would you do 6 to 7 attendant queens, or attendants, not attendant queens, but attendants in with the queens? There's a nice attendant. Drones. Just kidding. Try to avoid the drones at all costs for credibility. But
Picking that, tell me what you see.
oh yeah, we got a queen.
I know. Where's she hiding?
That is always the question. Reg, I got one in your pocket there.
Thank you.
I'll go back through these for you.
Oh, I'll find her somewhere here. I know she's here.
Oh yeah, no, you got eggs and larvae. I don't know if the camera can pick that up. The right angle, there's just larvae
They might have a better shot.
and some
at that
eggs.
one.
Oh, and that one?
And they might have a decent better shot at seeing them.
This is a perfect example of a mating nuke that failed failed on the last queen, the last round of queens through the mating yard here, because there's no cap brood. So these bees were in a position where they were just desperate. There's a, look at this.
You got her?
I got, it's not a very healthy looking queen by any means, so I'm just going to pinch her off. She was, yeah, she didn't look good.
She was laying.
Well, I'm not going to sell it or use it in-house. She's all greasy looking. Parasitic, I forget the virus. She's dead now, but I didn't like the looks of it one bit. It's not PMS, I forget the virus, but usually it's like a greasy kind of looking bee that results from it. Yeah, the catching raising queens or queen rearing, queen rearing on this side of the equation is all a numbers game. You're playing with percentages. In the beginning, you know, I was always trying to get the 100% or frustrated that things weren't always, you know, where my expectations were. And the more you start playing with for numbers, the more you really have to start kind of fine-tuning the layout of a mating yard and you know, doing everything you can as a beekeeper to try to get successful orientation for queens to fly back and a decent habitat for the bees to maintain, you know, their feed and to being able to grow and be healthy. But outside of that, it's all numbers. You're just working with percentages and kind of the normal kind of industry average, which again has always been agreed upon, I think, for most queen breeders and producers, that it's around 75%. Earlier in the season, we'll have lower catch rates. I've mentioned in previous videos that we're always seeing like 50, 60, 50's on the low end. It's not surprising on the first round through these nukes, these mating nukes, that we get 65, 60, sometimes in a bad start to the year we'll get 50%, but after the first catch through, we start to see better averages because of the fact that these nukes are now, you know, without a queen for an extended period of time if they rejected the first queen cells, and then they're more apt to accept the queen cells that we're giving them. Even the trick is, as I mentioned again in previous videos, is the populations of these nukes have to be kind of at this point where they're not too weak, but they're just strong enough and they're able to maintain their health and vitality of, you know, not losing this forward momentum. And that's the ideal state for establishing these mating nukes. Then they'll accept queen cells regardless of their own will to want to raise their own queens. So we'll see if we can find a few more. I'll show you guys again how we kind of mark them and cage them. And it's a pretty simple task. We're just going through harvesting the queens, seeing how many we can come up with. And the weather's beautiful today. We cut the grass in this yard yesterday just to kind of clean things up. It's always nice to do this when the grass is shorter and we're not working in tall, wet grass all morning long and then having to deal with that all day. So this is just a good example of what it looks like with a mated queen in the previous round. You know, all the cat broods from the previous queen. We got eggs and larvae on the outside of the frame. So we're looking for a queen, and you can see that generational brood pattern from one queen to the next. Bird mated queens running around. I should put a veil on. Stop trying to be a cowboy. Call it cowboy beekeeping.
That'll be your nickname going forward.
No, I don't want that nickname. I don't need to. I usually don't. It's funny typically. I mean, the bees are not aggressive, hence the reason why I don't really have a veil on. But it's just no fun getting stung in the face. So I should put one on. But that's the kind of mark that I like. Just a nice, tight, definitive mark. Nothing that's just this big blotch of paint. The reason why I like the piece of Timothy or a piece of grass with the, with some modeling paint. In she goes, and we'll get her some helpers. It's funny now, I think I'm just, it's a matter of moments before I'm stung in the face. One more, and there it is. And I mark the family of the queen, which breeder she's from, on the cages, so we know. That's, again, as I mentioned again in previous videos, the most important thing in a breeding program with queen bees, or any breeding program, is to just document what is what's coming from what, how you can track the family lines or the lineages of queens over time, and to prove and to know that it's from your program. That's why that's why I believe in marking the queens, because I know that these marked queens are from the mating yard, so I have targeted mating, and I can keep track of the lines, or the family lines, I should say. Put this on for a minute.